Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 22 of our First John study. In our last study, the assignment was to study First John 2, 7 through 11 and make as many observations as possible. Let's jump in and see what we found. So in this section, we have a lot said about the new commandment, which really isn't a new commandment. He says, "Beloved, I'm writing to you a new commandment." So, what did we observe about this commandment? Well, we observed that they had it from the beginning. He says, "I'm writing to you no new commandment, but an old commandment that you had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word that you have heard." So, the commandment was from the beginning. We also see that it is a new commandment. At the same time, it is a new commandment that I'm writing to you. So how can it be an old commandment and a new commandment at the same time? Well, there's a couple aspects to it. One being that the commandment was part of the old law. They had it from the beginning of God's people. But it's also new to some of them because they're Gentiles. But it's also new because it's new in quality. There is a new sense of it when you put in the idea of Christ and the idea of loving your brother, and because of Christ, there's a new aspect or a new quality to that command. And we see that the command is true in him and in you. He says, "I'm writing to you, which is true in him and in you." Now, I forgot to write something down here. The old commandment that you had from the beginning, the old commandment is the word that you have heard. It is the word that they had heard. So, what was that commandment? Well, he goes on and he starts talking about love. He says, "Whoever says he's in the light and hates his brother is still in the darkness. Whoever loves his brother abides in the light, and in him there is no cause for stumbling." So the command that we see throughout the book is love your brothers. Love others as yourself. Then we move on and we see some observations about light and dark. He talks about dark a lot in this section. We learn that the darkness is passing away. It is on its way out. We also see that whoever hates his brother is in darkness. So if you claim to be in the light, but you hate your brother, you're in the darkness. And we see the darkness blinds those who walk in it. Let's talk about that just for a sec. It says, "Whoever hates his brother is in the darkness and walks in the darkness and does not know where he's going because the darkness has blinded his eyes." I find this very fascinating because those who are in the darkness often don't know they're in the darkness. They think they're fine. They think they're doing what's right because they've been blinded. Their eyes are blinded. So when people are living in darkness, when they're living in sin, when they're living in that hate of their brethren, they think they're right. They're just bopping around through life thinking they know where they're going, but they are blind. Now, what about the light? We see that the light, the true light, is shining. It's not like it's going to come eventually. It's not like we'll see it someday. It's already shining. And we see that walking in the light is about more than words. He says, see here, "Whoever says he's in the light and hates his brother is still in the darkness." So you can say you're in the light all day long, but your words aren't what make a difference. It is your actions. You have to show that love. Whoever loves his brother abides in the light. So if you want to abide in the light, your actions have to back up your words. He says also, "Whoever loves his brother abides in the light." So how do we abide in that light? Well, he says here, love your brother. We also see here some contrasts. We see that there's no cause for stumbling in the one who abides in the light. He says, "Whoever loves his brother abides in the light, and in him there's no cause for stumbling." So you're not going to cause others to stumble, and you're not going to be stumbling. Now that's contrasted against The one who walks in darkness, who does not know where he's going. So you think about that contrast right there between verse 10 and verse 11. If you're abiding in the light, you know where you're going. You see clearly what's going on, and you're not going to stumble into sin. But if you're hating your brother, if you're walking in the darkness, you don't know where you're going. You're going to blunder into mistakes. You're going to blunder into problems. So we need to be walking in the light. Okay, now there's more observations we could make about this, but for now, let's move on to the assignment. Your assignment, and I'll bet you can guess what it is to study 1 John chapter 2, verses 12 through 14. This is a little poetic sentence or section, there we go, poetic section in the second chapter of 1 John. 1 John 2, 12 through 14. Make as many observations as you can about that, and we'll talk about it in the next video.